Ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for joining us. This is the news focus in Africa and the world. We open today's edition in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the appeal trial of Vital Kamerhe will begin on July 24. The information was revealed by his lawyers less than a month after he was sentenced to 20 years for embezzlement. His sentence included disqualification from holding public office for 10 years. Vital Kamerhe, 61, the veteran political figure who was President Felix Tshisekedi's chief of staff, and his co-accused were convicted on June 20 of diverting more than $50 million of public funds. Kamerhe's lawyer said last month that they will appeal on the grounds that forced labor is banned under the country's constitution. The verdict was received with mixed reactions from across the country. While his supporters see it as being politically motivated, others see it as a strong act in the fight against the promised anti-values Felix Tshisekedi said during the electoral campaign. The ball is therefore in the hands of the Court of Appeal, which will either acquit the accused or increase or reduce the sentence of 20 years of forced labor. Following escalating conflict and unrest in the Darfur region of Sudan, authorities have declared a state of emergency. Several people were reported killed by the feared Janjaweed militia after unrest broke out following recent protests calling for better governance and security. The African Union United Nations mission in Darfur said it had sent a team to Khartoum town in northern Darfur following the reported burning of a police station and cars by unidentified protesters. A resident also said unidentified militia had attacked another city in Fatabanu, a village in the same area, on Monday. No further details were available about the two incidents. Peaceful sittings have sprung up in towns across Darfur and in other parts of Sudan, which also are protesting the presence of armed militias. The state of emergency will run for 14 days. In new rounds of talks on the Nile Dam, Egypt, Sudan and Ethiopia have failed to reach an agreement hosted by the African Union to regulate the flow of water from the giant Blue Nile hydropower dam built by Addis Ababa, the three countries reported. The AU launched its mediation efforts 2 weeks ago, involving 11 online sessions to end the deadlock over the filling and operation of the $4 billion Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, which flows into the Nile River. It has caused tensions between the three nations as all rely on the river waters, with Cairo worried its share could cut down by the dam. The parties are hoping to strike a deal about the regulation of flow from the dam, but all the sense that is determined to start filling the reservoir this month, even without an agreement. In the West African country, Ivorians on Tuesday paid tribute to Ivory Coast Prime Minister Amadou Gon Coulibaly, who died last week, only 3 months before he was due to be the ruling party's presidential candidate. The ceremony was presided at by President Alassane Ouattara, who had considered Coulibaly his heir apparent at the presidential palace in the capital, Abidjan. Senegal's President Macky Sall and the French foreign minister traveled to take part in the ceremony. A solemn march characterized the event for the deceased. Kadia Kamara, Ivory Coast Education Minister, praised Coulibaly as a gifted negotiator. Gon Coulibaly was awarded the Grand Croix de l'Ordre National, the country's highest distinction. The deceased body has been removed from the presidential palace and will be buried on Friday in his hometown. Moving out of Africa, Zhao Lijiang, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson, said in a press briefing that the United States is a troublemaker undermining peace and stability in the South China Sea region, responding to U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's comment in a statement issued on Monday. The Washington statement said the dotted line in the South China Sea was announced by China in 2009, which is completely untrue, Zhao said, adding that China's territorial sovereignty and maritime rights and interest in the South China Sea were established throughout a long course of history. Japan also on Tuesday issued a defense white paper asserting that China has tried to bolster its unilateral territorial claims in regional seas during the coronavirus pandemic while increasing its defense budget without transparency. The US paper on the South China Sea is the latest move in a tit-for-tat conflict that has unfolded on multiple fronts between Beijing and Washington in the past few months. The two countries are quarreling over issues including trade, the coronavirus outbreak, and Hong Kong's autonomy, in which President Trump has signed a legislation and an executive order to hold China accountable for oppressive national security law it imposed on Hong Kong. In Britain, the government has announced plans to remove and ban Chinese tech giants Huawei from the UK's 5G network after US sanctions made it impossible to ensure the security of equipment made by the Chinese company. The US had also threatened to sever an intelligence sharing arrangement with Britain because of concerns that Huawei's involvement could allow the Chinese government to infiltrate UK networks. The decision forces British telecoms operators to stop buying fifth-generation equipment from Huawei by the end of this year, but gives them until 2027 to remove Huawei gear that has already been used in the network, which is currently under construction. The decision marks a major retreat for Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who in January sought to balance economic and security pressures by agreeing to give Huawei a limited role in the 5G network, a decision applauded by President Donald Trump's National Security Advisor. Marathon rounds of meetings are taking place between EU leaders, but they are still worlds apart on the coronavirus recovery. Ahead of the EU summit on Friday, July 17, German Chancellor Angela Merkel met with Italian Premier Giuseppe Conte, saying the positions of the member states remain apart, yet she urged her counterparts to consider the bigger picture. It must be a special effort that makes it clear that Europe wants to stick together in this difficult moment, adding that it has a political dimension beyond the figures. It was a position echoed by Conte, whose country has seen the highest number of deaths in the EU from the COVID-19 pandemic and has been brought to its knees economically. While Italy and Germany are largely on the same page, the Dutch Prime Minister are a part of the so-called frugal four countries. Australia, Denmark, Netherlands and Sweden oppose the current €1 trillion recovery plan as it entails shed debt for the first time. And the Trump administration has abandoned its attempt to force foreign students to leave the United States if all of their classes are due to be taught online this autumn, in a dramatic reversal from a policy announced just last week. U.S. District Judge Alison Burrow in Massachusetts said the U.S. government and Harvard University and Massachusetts Institute of Technology that sued over the measure had come to a settlement that will roll back the new rules and restore the previous status quo. 17 U.S. states and the District of Columbia sued the administration of President Donald Trump to reject the federal government's recent rule stripping foreign students of their visas. The universities argued the measures was unlawful and would adversely affect the academic institutions. The lawsuit came exactly 1 week after the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and Immigration and Customs Enforcement released guidelines vowing to invalidate foreign students' F1 and M1 visas if the educational institutions they are enrolled in switches to online-only courses, possibly depriving them of their legal status of stay in the United States. That's it. Thanks for watching, and do so again if you can. Do take care and stay safe in company of programs on DBS television.